by making films, and he really had a lot of energy, and I guess there's the other Stevie Wonder, not the one who's here tonight, but.
No one discusses Michael J. Fox's near-death experience on a film set, a hanging sequence in Back to the Future Part 3 went terribly wrong when the rope stopped the flow of blood to his brain. It took the director a few seconds to realize he was dangling unconscious. That brush with death, though, was minor compared to the hidden war he was already fighting. By then, he was working 18-hour days, carrying a diagnosis almost no one knew. The pressure nearly broke him. If the full truth of those years were revealed, everything would look different. Michael Andrew Fox was born June 9, 1961, in Edmonton, Alberta. His mother, a payroll clerk with a performer's spark, and his father, a career soldier with the Royal Canadian Corps of Cygnus, gave him both creativity and discipline. The family moved constantly North Bay, Chilliwack, and Marental, retiring to Burnaby, British Columbia, in 1971. Always the new kid, he learned to read rooms fast, disarm with humor, and adapt. Hockey was the first dream, fueled by Bobby. Or-style fantasies, but height capped out at 5'4", and the NHL dream faded. He played in garage bands, taught himself guitar, and stumbled into a high school acting class where a teacher spotted timing and charm. At 15, he auditioned for the CBC sitcom Leo and Me. His size, which killed the hockey dream, suddenly helped he could play younger. He landed the part, earned his first professional check, and felt a door swing open. Through 1978-79, he became one of Canada's most visible young actors. The pay $200 a week was tiny, but critics praised the emotional honesty. Acting, he realized, could be more than a job. It could be art. Then came the audacious leap. At 18, he left secure Canadian offers, including a lead paying $2,000 per episode, and moved to Los Angeles with about $500. No connections, and parents who worried he was throwing away momentum. The city said no. Auditions dried up, bills climbed, agents stopped calling, and once survived a week on $1.50 and day-old bread. He tested for about 100 roles and lost. Depression crept in, and he nearly quit. His first studio feature, Disney's Midnight Madness, opened February 8, 1980. He worked 2 weeks for $2,000 and appears on screen for minutes as Scott Larson. The $4 million movie earned only $2.9 million. He was so underfed during the 1979 shoot, he fainted after days of eating only rice. He paid down $1,500 of debt and was broke again by December. Rock bottom. Even his name wobbled. On joining the Screen Actors Guild in 1979, he learned Michael Fox was taken. Inspired by Michael J. Pollard, he picked the middle initial J.F.O., avoiding a Michael A. Fox to dodge corny headlines. The change cost $100 he barely had. Midnight Madness carried the first Michael J. Fox credit. He later joked that Michael Andrew Fox sounded arrogant. 21 years old, 2 months behind on the phone bill, $30,000 in debt. He almost missed the call. Agent Bob Schulenberg said he'd been cast as Alex P. Keaton in Family Ties. He'd nearly blown the May audition. On June 15th, he won the role over 500 actors, including Matthew Broderick. The job paid $5,000 per episode, about $100,000 for season 1, and stopped the freefall. The show hit around 30 million viewers a week by 1983. At first, Alex wasn't meant to dominate. It was a show about ex-hippie parents and their kids. NBC exec Brandon Tartikoff once said, Fox's face didn't belong on a lunchbox. Fox later sent him a custom lunchbox labeled, "Put your crow in here, Brandon." The series ran to May 14, 1989, made Fox one of America's most beloved TV stars, and brought 3 consecutive Emmys 1986 to 88 and in 1989. Golden Globe. The character became a shorthand for the Reagan 80s sharp Sutandiso, much so that pundits invoked, what would Alex P. Keaton do? Years later. Meanwhile, Back to the Future almost happened without him. Eric Stoltz was cast as Marty McFly in November 1984 and shot for nearly a month, but director Robert Zemeckis felt the tone had turned too heavy. On January 10, 1985, Stoltz was let go paid in full, but Fox was the dream fit if Family Ties could spare him. They struck a brutal compromise from mid-January to mid-March 1985. Fox worked Family Ties, 10 a.m. minus 6 p.m., then Back to the Future, 6:30 p.m., 2:30 a.m. Fridays, were Worst Rehearsal and 2 live tapings. Sleep-starved, he once hunted a camcorder on the Family Ties set only. To realize it was a Back to the Future prop, the grind lasted 2 months, but the result was lightning in a bottle. The 1985 film DeLorean, 1.21 gigawatts, and all became a classic, launching a trilogy and securing Fox as a bona fide movie star. During Part 3, the gallows scene nearly turned fatal. To make it real, he tried without the hidden box, using his hand to keep the noose loose. On the third take, he misjudged the rope, cut blood to his brain. Zemeckis saw, shouted to cut him down, and likely saved his life. Had it gone seconds longer, the damage could have been permanent or worse. The trilogy went on to become one of cinema's most loved franchises. Beyond Marty, Fox played Marty's son and ancestor Seamus, showcasing range within a single universe. Close on its heels, Teen Wolf dropped, and the late 80s brought The Secret of My Success, Light of Day, Casualties of War, Doc Hollywood. He even hosted SNL in 1991. Critics who once tagged him as a teen idol watched him swing into darker material in Casualties of War. He's a soldier confronting a war crime. In Bright Lights, Big City, his unraveling monologue became a career-best moment for many reviewers. Voice work unlocked another lane. He voiced Chance in Homeward Bound 1993, and later led Stuart Little 1999, which connected with worldwide audiences and gave him a medium to keep performing, even as on-camera roles became harder. Then came 1991 on the Doc Hollywood set, and a twitch in the left pinky that wouldn't stop. At 29, he was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease. The shock was seismic. He hid the illness for years, timing dopamine pills to scenes, chewing them like Smarties, anchoring his body against tables and walls, holding coffee cups or briefcases to mask shakes while drinking heavily to blunt fear. By 1992, he hit bottom, chose sobriety with the help of wife Tracy Pollan and their children, disclosing his diagnosis privately to Jeffrey Katzenberg and Robert Iger. First, it could get really bad, or maybe not. TV meant sleeping at home and fewer travel days. Symptoms worsened by season 2, he told castmates after a 4-hour brain procedure to manage them. On December 7, 1998, after paparazzi photographed visible tremors, he went public on the cover of People. Relief flooded in alongside uncertainty. His doctor warned he might function only another decade. The public response was overwhelming support, not stigma. Spin City thrived. Fox won SAGs 99, OO Golden Globes 98, OO, and an Emmy OO, but by January 2000, the strain was untenable. You could see him brace on furniture in later episodes. On January 19, 2000, he announced his departure, returning for a few farewell episodes while Charlie Sheen carried the final 2 seasons. That same year, he launched the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. What started as one man's mission became a global engine that rewired how Parkinson's science gets done. Agile funding, tight oversight, and a relentless bias for progress. Over the years, it grew into the world's largest nonprofit funder for Parkinson's, channeling private dollars at unprecedented scale, accelerating trials, and rallying a community that believed speed and rigor could coexist. The foundation's impact was measurable in lives and data. It backed bold ideas, built massive longitudinal cohorts, and insisted on tools that would shrink trial timelines by 2023. Its marquee Parkinson's Progression Markers initiative helped validate a spinal fluid assay that detects abnormal alpha-synuclein, the so-called Parkinson's protein, with remarkable accuracy, transforming how trials enroll and measure disease. In 2024, the FDA issued a supportive letter for using that biomarker in studies. Another step toward earlier, smarter therapies. Alongside the science came grassroots power, community rides, runs, raffles, and record-setting campaigns that poured in tens of millions, sometimes with surprise triple matches from anonymous donors. By 2023, the foundation had raised over $2 billion to push research forward, a level of private focus on a single disease the world had rarely seen. Fox never stopped performing. He just changed the frame. He leaned into characters who could absorb or acknowledge his symptoms. On Rescue Me, his turn as the fiery, complicated Dwight earned him a 5th Emmy. As Lewis Canning on The Good Wife and later The Good Fight, he turned physical unpredictability into razor-sharp courtroom tactics, collecting 6 more nominations. He popped up on Curb Your Enthusiasm, Boston Legal, Scrubs, and in 2009 fronted the Emmy-nominated ABC Special Adventures of an Incurable Optimist, traveling from the U.S. to India to Bhutan in search of what keeps people buoyant. When he finally stepped back from acting in 2020, it felt less like quitting than choosing his moments wisely. Writing became another pillar. Lucky Man debuted as a #1 bestseller and reframed his diagnosis not as a sentence but as a call to purpose. Always Looking Up and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Future deepened that lens. While No Time Like the Future 2020 brought a raw honesty about surgeries, setbacks, and the days when optimism nearly ran dry, his audiobook work drew multiple Grammy nominations. Always Looking Up won Best Spoken Word in 2010. The voice that once cracked wise as Alex P. Keaton now guided readers through pain, perspective, and gratitude. Through it all, Fox kept a public-facing humility. He talked about falling a lot and laughed about it, framing each stumble as the tax on the life he still loved. Friends like Ryan Reynolds teased that he falls because he isn't afraid to fly, a line Fox enjoyed. Tracy Pollan remained the constant partner, compass, and architect of a family life that made space for both fragility and joy. On social posts, he insisted he wasn't getting older so much as more grateful. The honors followed the work, not the other way around. On January 4, 2025, President Joe Biden awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. The citation recognized his courage, advocacy, and the optimism that had rallied patients, families, and scientists toward a shared horizon. In the East Room, surrounded by leaders, artists, and Nobel laureates, Fox accepted on behalf of a community that refused to let Parkinson's define them. By then, his foundation had crossed $1.75 billion raised and was already pushing toward the next $100 million. Initiatives focused on biochemical markers and precision trials. Then, because endings don't suit him, he surprised fans again. After a 5-year break from series work, he returned in 2025 as a guest on Apple TV's Shrinking, reuniting with Spin City's Bill Lawrence. The crew designed the set around his needs. Colleagues learned his rhythms. The performance mattered. But so did the statement that Parkinson's couldn't draw the borders of his life. In October 2025, he slated a new book, Future Boy, Back to the Future, and My Journey Through the Space-Time Continuum, timed to the film's 40th anniversary. Corton with Nell Fortenberry, it revisits 1985, the year of double duty days on Family Ties and all-night shoots, as Marty arguing that time went rogue and took me with it. Less a memoir than a meditation on identity and purpose, it gathers untold stories and new conversations with the people who built that lightning strike of a film. Alongside him, Fox also kept telling the hardest truth. After nearly 30 years with Parkinson's, every day was a little tougher. He spoke candidly about pain, surgeries, and the stubborn calculus of risk that comes with walking, standing, even sleeping. But candor never canceled humor. He made space for both. When Tracy posted a birthday tribute, he quipped back that he wasn't older, just more thankful. The line landed because it felt lived in. Rewind the tape and the arc still stuns. The kid who sold couch sections to make rent becomes the actor who carries a network sitcom. Then, a film that sparks a generational myth DeLorean, doors opening onto a future none of them could have predicted. He nearly dies on a rope to sell a shot, then finds new ways to sell the truth. He hides a diagnosis with pill timing and stagecraft, then turns that same diagnosis into a movement that rewires disease science. He leaves a hit show at the height of fame, then wins another round of awards by playing characters who fold his reality into theirs. He stumbles, stands up, and writes the book on how to keep going. The details endure. The August 20th, 1982 phone call that changed everything. The January 10th, 1985 reset that opened the door to Marty McFly. The December 7, 1998, revealed that traded secrecy for solidarity. The January 19, 2000 goodbye that hurt because it mattered. The laboratory milestones that moved an entire field forward 2 decades later. The dates anchor the myth in years, in rooms and signatures, on contracts. But the why sits somewhere deeper inside. The choice to turn personal fear into public fuel. Ask the fans, and they'll mention lines from Back to the Future that never stop being quoted. The way kids meet the movie fresh every year, like it was made just for them. Ask the scientists, and they'll point to how a patient-led foundation forced better tools into being. Ask the actors, and they'll tell you about timing that could make cynical rooms burst out laughing, and about generosity on sets that made everyone braver. Ask Fox, and he'll probably wave it off with a joke, then pivot to the next fundraiser, the next study, the next small thing worth doing well. Now 64. He doesn't pretend optimism is easy. He treats it like a practiced imperfect, daily, deliberately chosen. He allows for bad days, lets friends carry him when needed, and still reaches for the bit that turns pain into a story someone else can use. Parkinson's shapes the path. It does not write the ending. That's his line, earned the hard way. So yes, there was a moment on a set where a rope cinched too tight and the world dimmed. There were nights when pills were timed to the second and hands wrapped coffee cups like life preservers. There were weeks when sobriety felt like walking a beam in a storm. And there were mornings when the mailbox held donations, big and small, that pushed research another inch forward. Stitch them together, and you get the life of a man who turned setbacks into signals beacons, pointing toward a future where the next Michael, the next family, hears a different diagnosis, one paired with tools that arrive faster because a famous patient refused to sit down. He is not merely Marty McFly or Alex P. Keaton, though both still sparkle. He is the catalyst who proved fame can be repurposed into infrastructure, laughter into leverage, vulnerability into velocity. That conversion private fear to public goods, the real time travel trick. It takes you from a tiny apartment in West Hollywood to a stage in Washington, from a shaky left pinky to a global lab network, from a boy with a briefcase to a man with a foundation that outpaced expectations. If there's a moral, it's this: the future isn't somewhere you go. It's something you help build, one experiment, one joke, one stubborn step at a time. And Michael J. Fox is still building.